International. So let's get down to business. Okay, so the title of our talk today is Niger Delta Basin Field Evolution, Concept and Giant Field. And trust me when I say we have the full package today. We have the right person to do justice to this topic in the person of Mr. Ekun. So the agenda will follow today. Shortly, I will be making some welcome remarks. We'll have safety moment from Mr. Victor Kumola. And our NAPE president will be making some opening remarks, followed by chairman remarks and introduction of the speaker. Then we'll go into the technical presentation itself. After that, we'll have a quick summary by the chairman of the meeting today, Mr. Olumurewa. Then we'll go into Q&A session. But don't wait till the end before you put your questions in the Q&A section. If you look under your Zoom there, you will see a Q&A panel there. Please go in, put your questions, and we'll take it as we go once we get into the Q&A. We'll close out with announcement and then closing remarks and vote of thanks by our chapter chairman. So this is a photo from our first inaugural technical meeting, which was a physical event back in March. I'm sure many of you on this call were there, and this was how our chapter started. And for those who might not know us, we at NAPE, we are a community of professionals across the energy industry, and this is the North America chapter. And as NAPE, all over Nigeria, we have members. We are the largest professional association of petroleum geologists and energy-related discipline in Nigeria and indeed all over Africa. So our members cut across geologists, geophysicists. We have CEOs, managers, consultants, and we have, very importantly, students, the future of NAPE, and of course, academics. All right, as it is, our business, we always need to start with safety because we're a safety-conscious association. That's just the nature of our business. Mr. Victor Gumola, ready to go for the safety moment?
Yes, thank you, Jimoke. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'll stop sharing now so you can share screen.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry. I've got multiple windows here, so sorry about that. Okay. Can you see my screen?
It's coming up.
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it now.
Awesome. So I want to welcome everyone, and you will permit me to stand on the existing protocol. So today my job is very easy, and I've been asked to give a safety moment. Like Jimoke said, safety is very, very important. And when you think about safety, it's not just about the physical safety. Then I think attention to our health is also particularly important. So today I've decided to just give this reminder, we call it. There's nothing here that is going to be new to any of us, but I have to mention that our reality is to be reactive most of the time rather than being proactive. And what that means is not until something really happens, we don't respond. So, and it is particularly true when it comes to issue of health. So for many of us, not until there is a symptom, we don't really think we should visit the hospital. And so I would just ask, why do we really need an annual checkup? Yes, I can tell you based on personal experience, a visit may just be the difference. The only thing that stands between you and having a chance of surviving a particular ailment. So early detection is always important. I mean, a lot of us, we move around without knowing it. And there are a lot of health issues in this world that don't show itself until it is actually too late. But when you visit the hospital, at least that one time visit and annual checkup could make all the difference. Then there is this psychological and emotional feeling that you have when you check yourself up and the doctor gives you a clean bill. It kind of gives you that peace of mind rather than, I mean, you don't want to second guess what is going on in your body. Even that in itself could drive off a BP and create more complicated health issues. So when you check up, you are at peace. But again, the reality is that a lot of us don't want to see doctor, and there are good and bad reasons for that. So our default thinking most of the time is, oh, I feel healthy. Yes, one can be very healthy. We've seen cases where somebody you met at the gym the previous day and the obituary is being announced the following day. So we have this impression about ourselves that I feel healthy. And like I mentioned, it is not every event that usually shows some symptom until it is actually too late. So yeah, the most important, I mean, also people will say, I don't have time. Usually we don't have time to do anything until we prioritize something. So it is important that we prioritize our health. And in doing that, we want to make sure that we made that call to our primary doctor for an appointment. Then sometimes it could be money, but I don't think I'm talking to audience that have this issue. So money should not be that too important that that will be a barrier between you and you being able to see a doctor. And of course, if you live in this part of the world, usually insurance, medical insurance could also be an issue, but there is what they call ACA, that is affordable, the Obamacare, that's a popular name. So it makes health insurance affordable. And I have to also say, if you live in this part of the world, you don't actually have to pay anything if you are just going for medical checkup. So it is completely free. And thanks to the Obamacare. So don't let that be a barrier. Many of us say, not until I get sick. I don't need to see a doctor. No, you don't have to wait until you get sick because it might actually be too late. Then our background, our cultural mindset, sometimes we get so paranoid, thinking, oh, if I see doctor, they must always find something, or they might find something. And that could actually be something that doesn't really incentivize us to see doctor. But again, we have to live above all that. So yeah, when you are at the doctor office, so it is not just enough for you to make that call to schedule that appointment. If there's anybody in this world that you have to be completely open to, I would suggest it's your doctor. So there's nothing, you have to be very, very upfront with whatever is going on in your body. And that is important because even with the most sophisticated diagnostic equipment, your input is still very important as a factor in the way your medical doctor or your medical team can actually plan your treatment. But it's important that you are open. Then, usually when you go to the for a visit, you are given a questionnaire. It's a very big, long, multi-page kind of document questionnaire. So it is always important to fill that as accurately as you can and as honestly as you can. Then you also have to be an active participant in your own health. What this means is even when you are meeting your doctor, with your doctor, it is important that you participate. You don't just stay there and be consuming all that he or she is telling you. And to also do that effectively, it means you have to be well prepared even before any appointment. You don't take it for granted. In fact, you should see this as, I mean, when you are going for medical appointment, the way I go is, okay, I'm preparing for for one of the most important interviews of my life. That's my attitude towards that. And when you embrace that, you make a lot out of every visit. So finally, just for emphasis, yes, health is everything, and that's what they call health is wealth. So regardless of what we have, I think our health is still very important in my view. So, and it is important that we make it a point of duty, at least once in a year. Once in a year, you meet your doctor. either you are feeling good or otherwise. So your longevity or life expectancy will pretty much depend on, that early detection of a potential health issue. So I think that is clear enough. This is just, again, a reminder. And finally, going to your doctor for an annual checkup is an important part of a proactive approach of maintaining good health. So I wish all of us here, we are about to start the summer. We still have a lot of time left in this year. So we still have a whole quarter. So you still have a lot of time to catch up. So thank you. That's it from me. And I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going to tolerate any questions. So you can read up on this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Victor Gumara.
Okay.
Timely reminder for us to take good care of ourselves. Please book that appointment to go for the checkup. So next we'll be calling on our NAPE president, Mr. Abiodun Ogunjobi, for his opening remarks.
All right, thank you, Jumoke. And let me say good evening to everyone on the call. It's been a pleasure and privilege for me welcoming each and every one of us at various fora to our section like this, technical sections across all the chapters. And I'm glad that we are all here again to listen once again to one of us who has taken time and efforts with shared dedication to be part of an erudite study. And we always say, we pride ourselves as the knowledge base of the industry. And what we do most of the time is to share this knowledge with one another. Today is another technical meeting, which is more or less going to be the last one for this NAPI year, for the North American chapter, as we are transiting strongly into the conference mode. And I'm sure we almost have seen all the vibes for the upcoming conference. So I look forward to welcoming as many that are able to make it to Lagos for the forthcoming conference. And for those who are also not able to make it, be rest assured that this will be transmitted live for everybody to be part of this. So today's topic, I've had the privilege of listening to share once on this very important topic, and I can tell each and every one of us that it's a well-thought research work. If we consider the caliber of people that were part of that study, you can sense that a lot of detail and passionate, studies must have gone into this work. So I want to appreciate the members of that team for what they have done. They are adding to our knowledge, and they are also leaving on our table a memo that we are all going to keep for the nearest future. So I want to say thank you to the team, and also for graciously sharing their thoughts with us today. So let me also congratulate the North America chapter since the inauguration. I made a brief stopover last week, but because of other engagement, I was not able to spend enough time with you. But I can say that since the inauguration of this chapter, you have also done very, very well to project the image of NAPE, and also to be able to bring everyone together, especially all our members that are in the North America. I want to say well done to everyone, the executive of the North America chapter, and also the elders, because I know we have a lot of our senior colleagues in the North America chapter. So on behalf of the entire executive of NAPE, the Board of Trustees and the Advisory Council, welcome you to this section. And I look forward to welcoming each and every one of us at the forthcoming NAPE conference. Thank you very much, and let's enjoy the presentation from Sheye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogunjobi. So without wasting any more time, let's move on to our chairman's remarks, Mr. Gbenga Olumurewa. He will introduce the speaker as well.
Thank you, Jumoke. I stand on the existing protocol, and thank you, President, for attending. Just before I introduce Mr. Sheye, I just want to make one or two remarks. Number one, it's good to always talk amongst ourselves, not just about technical reviews, but also just a peek of what is happening globally, because that in the end influences what we do. And I think one of the reasons why today's topic is very important is if you hear all the talk about global energy outlook, oil and gas still remains a significant mix in the entire energy that the world needs. And particularly for us in Nigeria and in Africa, where the utilization and exploration of all the available energy resources that we have improves our economy. And so today's topic is, I think, is something that we should all look forward to. I was in a conference, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, where a presentation was made. And in that presentation, it said Africa is the third continent in the entire world that will produce more conventional oil and gas. And that as the world looks for, energy security and stability, yes, the non-fossil fuels will grow, but oil and gas will still remain a significant mix of that. And so with that, we know that having a good understanding of the basin systems of those oil and gas is important for us as professionals, particularly for the younger folks who are going to start picking up the baton soon. And so with that, I will introduce Mr. Oluseye. Mr. Oluseye Ekun is a seasoned oil and gas professional with over 27 years experience in exploration, in development, and in technical leadership roles. He holds a BSc in geology from the University of Ibadan and an MBA from Lagos State University. He is currently, as been said before, the manager of field development and production engineering of Chevron Nigeria. His team is responsible for innovative, creative, cost-effective, and efficient ways of moving resources to reserves and to production, and production optimization as well. Prior to his role, he was the Exploration Geoscience Manager for Chevron in Houston, Texas. Under his leadership, he was also a very active member of the American Association of Petroleum Geologists, holding leadership roles and contributing significantly to the various workshops and student programs. Part of his efforts led to the expansion of the university participation in the AAPG Imperial Barrel Award Program, and the success of that program led to the adoption by NAPE and the creation of the annual NAPE Basin Evaluation Competition. Coming back home, he's authored and co-authored numerous technical papers and received multiple awards, including NAPE's Best Technical Poster and Best Technical Paper Awards. In 2023, he received the AAPG Distinguished Service Award for his contribution to the industry. His expertise spans petroleum system analysis, basin evolution, field development, and production optimization. Ladies and gentlemen, please get your notepad take away the distractions. Please take notes, and then we'll take questions. So I introduce to you Mr. Oluseye Ekun. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olumuriwa. Thank you so much. While Mr. Ekun is sharing his screen, I noticed Mr. John Bosco, President-elect of NAPI, is on the call. Maybe you want to say something for a few minutes? Mr. John Bosco.
No, thank you very much, Madam Jumoke. And again, thanks, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wenger. And again, also recognizing the president already. Well, I don't want to say too much to what, or add too much to what the president have said. But again, I just want to encourage everybody, just like the chairman said, let's relax and listen to Mr. Sheye Ekun, right? Sheye Ekun is... he's been doing not just for North America. I mean, even at the national level here in Lagos, the last technical meeting we had in July, he was also the architect of that session. So the conference planning that the president mentioned, as you know, that I chair, Sheye is one of the key guys working strongly. So he's not a new face in this. So I'm quite excited to really, in fact, I was speaking as of 1 hour ago, we're still planning, the conference together with him, even just maybe 40 minutes before this session, to tell you the commitment and dedication he has. And I told him that indeed I will be here. So let him not say much because the president, I think, has covered most. But thanks, Madam Jumoke, for this opportunity. So with that, I will hand back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. John Bosco. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Sheye Ekun.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to the president and president-elect and executive of North American chapter. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to share some of these ideas and thoughts with you all. Please confirm you can see my screen and you can hear me clearly before I go.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. So please, I can see if you raise your hands or whatever. So maybe after the presentation, you might take the questions. And also, if there's anything, please just do let me know, Jim, okay? Okay. So thank you very much. As NAPI motto goes, our idea is to find oil and gas. That is a well thought out motto, is a creative one. That means oil and gas are first found in the minds of people. When I mean people, people like you and I, geologists, geophysicists, and what have you. So today's topic, we are going to step back and just take a look at the Niger Delta in terms of geological evolution of the basin itself, the petroleum system, the concept, technology integrations, and we take a case studies of certain mega fields. We are doing this because I'm sure we all are aware that the federal government of Nigeria is actively looking for production. We need to increase our production. But oftentimes, what people don't really say much is that we've not been investing in the business. There's a lot in terms of exploration activities, and you are producing already in existing reserves. There is so much you can do in terms of extending those things. And so we need to find new oil and gas reserves so that we can increase that production. If we really want something to go in a geometric increase in the production, we need to do something differently. We can't continue to do same things and expect a different result. And so this subject, actually, the lead author for the project is Baba Kenny, that's Kenny Ladipo, and you have Ogajo, Jedawe. All these are veteran people, Zumba Francis, Georgie Noma, Benjamin, and Shagun Bilaja, and Homuset. Everybody contributed to this, what we'll be discussing here today. Just the presenter as one of the authors. So this is by no means my work alone. So before we get started, I would typically like to acknowledge instead of acknowledge the people last. So that is both for the organizations and people that supported us for these projects and people eventually. So They listed there the NUPRC, NNPC Limited, names, of course, share companies in Nigeria, ExxonMobil Nigeria, Chevron Nigeria, and the affiliates, Star Deep, Fanfa, Equun, Africa, Oil and Banco, but BTG, Total Energies, and Egypt. And of course, we cannot leave out our professional colleagues through several discussions, ideas, bouncing of ideas, development of study concepts, reviews, and also people who have made valuable contribution to all the ideas that we'll be sharing in this paper today. So typically, petroleum basin experience a cyclic pattern. Like I said, just like a stock market where you have boom and bust, and oil and gas industry exploration activities is not different from that because what you see usually you have uptick in activities from the exploration perspective, especially when there are new plays. And also when those new play or the new play that people are prospecting came out, they're kind of like lull in activities and things start dropping until there's a turnaround, maybe new ideas or new technology or what have you. To rejuvenate the field again or the basin. So it's kind of like reinventing the basin. And Niger data in particular is not different. We have, like I will show you as part of this presentation, series of where you have those major uplift, like step change in terms of reserve growth, what led to them, what are new ideas, and also technology and innovative ideas. And so in that, again, if you all remember the basic principle of geology, it's our presence is key to the past, right? And so we can also typically use it in reverse form. We can also use past as a key to the future. So if you know what happened in the past, we can use that project and also forecast what potential things are going to be, and also lessons learned and how we can integrate that. And what I typically tell people, then the mentor is also the yes, you know the theory, you know the logic. How are you able to apply this knowledge to create value? So how do we take classroom knowledge and the theory and what we learn and synthesize that and use that to come up with a new play and a new opportunities that we can go after? Of course, people first of all develop the ideas and the concept, and then you need leadership support and also risk appetite to go after those kind of opportunity. So those are the things that we'll be discussing in this presentation today. So to help us go through the presentation, so I'll go through the introduction, and then we speak about the evolution of the Niger data itself. I mean, just looking at the tectonic framework and also the stratigraphic framework and the deposition patterns. Thereafter, we look at the interaction between the structure and the sedimentations, look at how Niger data itself progress, and a series of play concepts in structural style that you pretty much familiar with, and also what are the new plays going to be, where it's going to come from, and also having a glimpse of linking the onshore shallow marine environment all the way to the deep water and in one swoop. So we also evaluate some of the technological evolutions also that been leveraged in the past that gave rise to some of the new play or reserve growth that we've seen in the basin, and also see what is going to be responsible for the next phase of uplift in our reserve and also in our production growth as we move forward in the basin. Like the chairman said, I typically do argue that oil and gas is still going to continue to play a strong role in the energy mix. The world population is growing, and the energy demand is going to continue. And a third world country like Nigeria or whatever we want to develop, we will be requiring energy. And yes, while renewable is good, I don't think renewable alone can satisfy that demand of energy as we go forward. So I typically discuss this in terms of energy mix. There will be a contribution for renewables as well as oil and gas will continue to contribute significantly to the energy mix in the world of energy demand. So we looked at our reserve growth, the reserve we have now, and also, like I said, identify where the potential new opportunities will come from. And we take a glimpse at the Niger Delta creamy curve itself, and we'll try and summarize and conclude the presentation. So generally, when we talked about the Nigeria itself, there are other sedimentary basin within Nigeria, not just only the Niger Delta, even though the Niger Delta is the most popular because of the prolific nature in the world as a oil and gas basin. But we do have other sedimentary basin in Nigeria. So starting from the northwestern part of Nigeria, where you have the Sokoto Illuminated Basin, and coming to the northeast, that's where you have the Borno and Chad Basin. I'm sure we've all have read and heard that we have a kind of like oil in the Chadian part of the basin, but on the Nigerian part, we've not seen any discovery or not made any major discovery on that part. So that could be a topic for another day. And talking to erudite palynologist, biostratigrapher like Professor Olu, who did his PhD there. So the reasoning are not far-fetched. But again, like I said, that is. Then we do have coming down south and the Bida Basin. There's another sedimentary basin, and also if you come to the eastern flank again, that's where you have the Benue, the mid, the upper, and also the lower Benue Stream, and of course the Alhambra Basin, which is the fringe of the Niger Delta on the eastern part. And you come to the Niger Delta Basin is south. So our focus today is based on the Niger Delta, for obvious reason, is our bread and butter, and that's where we still see that we still have that great opportunity to go with. So generally, I mean, again, if you look at it's a tertiary basin in terms of the age, range from the Eocene to recent. And at the center part of the basin, about 12 kilometers in thick in terms of thickness. That is one way. So that's huge volume of rocks and the sediment being piled up and deposited in there. So as of today, we have about 37.5 billion barrels in form of reserve. Major discoveries, several discoveries. Of course, these are just the P1, P2. There are more discoveries until you're able to commercialize, and that volume will go up. But in terms of production, if you look at the production from as far back as 58 to date, or to 2020, we've averaged something like 1.6 million barrels of oil per day, and we've only been able to exceed 2 million barrels per day for just a couple of years in the 70s and also early 2000 and around 2010 or thereabout. And so there's no doubt that the basin is prolific and significant, is a world-class petroleum basin, and is well studied and will continue to study to see where the further opportunity lies within the basin that we can explore, because we believe there's still so much to be explored for in the Niger Delta Basin itself. So how are we going to accomplish this if we're going to do that? So we're going to look at the existing concept and also the new concept that has evolved within the basin itself. So starting from the tectonic framework, and also the stratigraphic framework and the depositional model of the basin. So on the technical side, technically, if you look at this, what you see, the view graph on the top is actually the previous model, called legacy interpretations of the basin. If you take a north-south transect coming all the way from the onshore to the shallow marine and also to the deep water. So what you find out is that in the onshore area, you have the gravity loading of the sediment continue to load, and the loading of the sediment, the watering and what have you, creating that compaction, giving rise to the stress, giving rise to the normal faulting, and you have those normal faulting, especially from the what's it called, the Eocene, the way to lower Miocene, and you have them going down to the basin, kind of like basin line, and you also have, in some cases, you have kind of like a structural relief faulting, which could be antithetical and also synthetic in nature. But as you see, you move down to the basin wall, you can see that even though if you are not a geologist, you can see that progression, that the system is overall is progressing, and the weight of that sediment on the system itself is causing the extension in the onshore area to the shallow marine area, and that slip that is being generated get consumed into thrust faulting system and folding in the deep water, so resulting in the shortening of the system itself. But at the early work, if you just your work based on the onshore and the shallow marine area, you think that all the system is all about extension. But no, as we know today, and I would say in the 90s or to the early 95 or thereabouts, before the advent of the discoveries in deep water. So, I mean, we can easily argue that maybe there are no thrust system in the deep water Niger Delta, but with more data, high resolution seismic, you can see the profile all the way from the onshore to the deep water environment itself. But again, the most important thing, the difference between the latest concept and the earlier concept, let me see, okay, get my pointer. Okay. So what you can see is that the older concept based on what we call mobile shale. And actually, we know that in terms of rheology in shale and non mobile, we can call in the mud core high in those places. But however, they are highly pressurized, and also they express that kind of the features which is common to the soil tectonics environment. But what you find out that those intervals are transparent, and you can map them, you can't see anything in them in the older seismic. So yes, the concept held, but now with the more high resolution seismic, the interpretation is changing, and also has changed. That's what you're seeing in the lower part of this V graph. So you still have the same thing on the extension from the onshore to the shelf margins, and from there, what you see as you move into the slope, and shortly after the slope, you have the translation of the system where you have the folding happening, and then finally you have the slip generated from the extension being consumed in the deep water into thrust. So what you find out in what we interpreted previously as a mud core high, yes, still there, but you can still see some internal reflectivity within those intervals. So there's more of a imbricate thrust system, and caused this kind of upwelling of the events in that area. So to some extent, they can map some event there, and we believe that that could also be some of the area opportunity that could be tested later on. We call it, I mean, back-to-back system. So that is the changes from what it used to be as a no SIP zone where you can't see anything, where it's just transparent, and to now you can actually put some interpretation through those intervals and then make some informed decision and interpretation from them. The same system, the main framework still intact. It's just a minor refinement to what it used to be or to what we know it will be. So that's kind of like what the current interpretation is as of today. This could change tomorrow if we have more data, high resolution data, or new technology that can illuminate the subsurface a little bit better than what we have today. But with long offset, let's say records that go to 9 seconds and whatever, you can still tease out some of the interpretations. And this is what we will see today. Then, in terms of stratigraphic framework, I would say, when you looked at the Niger data itself, you have the architect group. But of course, on top, before the architect, you have the Imoshe, which we've not penetrated here, but the outcrop side, you can see the equivalent. But resting on top of that is the architect group, and followed by the Agbada and Benin. But however, the one key important is this, that this grouping stratigraphic framework only works in the onshore, in shallow marine area. But by the time you transition into deep water environment, it doesn't work. And the reason being that, you have the progression of the system continues to progress. And when you get to the shelf margins and with the canyon, when you have those low stand system, and when you have like a second order global sea level drops, you have a canyon system, its S volume, serving as a canyon folder through which the system, everything that you have deposited in the on the margin, gets kind of shoved into the deep water entirely and being deposited in form of a fan system, and also slope apron or tape margin or going to the basin floor itself. So that is why you cannot apply this kind of grouping when it comes into the deep water. So this is where in the deep water environment, you rely more on the kind of like a sequence stratigraphic framework to be able to tease out some of your stratigraphy and know what is happening with the stratigraphic architecture in the deep water area. But notwithstanding, when you looked at this, especially the onshore to shallow marine to the shelf margins, this holds true. And some of the characteristics you see, there is a kind of a replica when you look at it from the eastern part to the western part, with the Charcot fraction zone acting as a divider, dividing the basin into two. Even though you have almost like three different systems operating in terms of sediment supply. So in the western part, it's more like a wave dominated, and the central part where it's more like a river dominated, the delta itself. And when you go to the eastern part, where you have the ExxonMobil and cooperative, you have much of the tidal influence there. But you still have overall, and in terms of the general architecture of following from the Aketa group to Agbada and the Benin group. And because the system is progressing, like you said, you see that the Benin group formation, Benin group specifically when if you are too far over the hinterland, the thickness of that interval is very thin. You can actually move. You can drill into, say, something like 15.5 million years or 17.5 million years at a very shallow interval close to the surface when you're there. But when you are getting to the chef margin already, you are drilling at maybe 7,000, 6,000 or whatever, you are still very late Miocene. You've not even reached, it's difficult for you to even penetrate the Oligocene. So it makes the correlation, if you just base your correlation only on the seismic events, it makes it very difficult if you don't have about stratigraphic support to guide you in terms of event of what you are correlating across those major growth fault systems. So the expansion and the growth of those growth fault makes it difficult to jump correlate from one part of the fault to the other. So that's why integrated approach is very, very critical. And again, I will not waste too much time on that because we all know the characteristics of these various groups. The Ikita majorly marine, the Prodata, and the Agbada, where you have intercalations of the shale and sand, and of course, Benin group purely continental sand and freshwater entirely. So, with all this knowledge, when you try to look at the from the sequence stratigraphic component, and for you to understand your sequence stratigraphic component, your knowledge of the sea level it played a critical part at what sea level you static sea level rise and fall in the past, and look at the coastal overlap is very critical in order for you to be able to situate where you are in the system. And this is, yeah, then you can also not do this without having very strong biostratigraphic data set. And so to help you be able to date this, that you have your pollens and spores, palynology from palynology using the foraminiferas, especially the benthiforms, and also the calcareous nanophoses to help you date some of these events properly, while you can use your benthiforam for it to define your environment of deposition properly. They all have they complement each other. But in this case, when you look at the Niger data itself, looking at from the Oligocene from 30 million years all the way to present, what you see generally overall the sea level was rising from that point all the way to something like about between 10 million years and 15 million years. That's just the net when you look at it in terms of the net, but that does not mean you are going to have various, rise and fall within those intervals. But in terms of overall, it was rising from that for that intervals. And so when you marked it in detail, you can see where you have some of those maximum flooding surfaces, some which are regional in nature, and you can map around so that when you want to do your regional work, you know which surfaces to actually map. And the green colors are the maximum flooding surfaces. The red one arrows are the lowest stand. So this just indicate where you have those fall in sea level, and you have a drop in sea level before you start building up. And the knowledge of this world is important. And so the low stand is going to be where you see most of your sand deposit happening. And within that interval, you will have sand, whether it's in the high stand, system stand, or whatever, but most of your best stand are going to be in the low stand. So when you understand that, I will be able to use that to prospect and also see how you can see the area where the penetrations, where they penetrate, and try to see the equivalent in certain areas, whether there are still opportunity out there for those kind of events, these that are genetically related and exploit. So here, the map here was based on third order sequence, and of course, those major sequence boundary are kind of like maybe second order sequence boundaries. So, like I have explained, this is one of the challenges that you have in the Niger data, and so without strong stratigraphic data, and because you have high volume of sand or high volume of sediments that are being supplied into the system, so you see that the system continue to progress from the north all the way to the south, more into the basin world. So if you stayed in the northern side of the system, I think you can see the blue surface where my cursor is, and you can see the that's sorry, I don't know the color, the purple and the deep blue in here. You see, this is 50 million years, and that's just 23 and 33 million years surfaces. You can see how close they are to the surface. Okay, and this, if you're going to see any of these Pliocene intervals or late Miocene, it's going to be very thin. So you won't be playing for those interval in if you are in especially in the hinterland part of the Niger Delta. But again, these are the pay where you're going to be playing in this area. Now the question is, when you move out to the other depot bed within the delta itself, can you see the equivalent of what you've played somewhere here in this other part of the basin? So those are the things that are going to challenge that people need to start thinking of, saying, okay, where are my next opportunity going to be? Where are the ones that I've tested? And again, some of the ideas that we have in mind is, if data permits, things like that is, we've seen this, right? So we are on the deep water components or deep water deposit of these intervals, especially in the, for example, in the central part or the greater Willie or the northern part of it. So you see the event that are coming, you can see the profile. If we are able to identify those paleo shelf break or paleo shelf edge, maybe we can use that to extrapolate where the deep water position or part, paleo deep water or buried delta will be, and also those could be a potential future play in the delta itself. So coming to the offshore environment and the shallow offshore, say your play is going to be primarily in the late Miocene, very young age segment, with a very thick pile of beneath formation, in some cases almost like 3,000 feet in terms of thickness. Those are where the play. Then the question again is the deeper horizons or the older sediments within this, we've not penetrated them. Where are they going to be? And then do we have structure? Are they, there are two different things. All the petroleum system need to work together to be integrated for you to have a play. But at least they say, do I have sand them? Where are they? They are structure for me to go after. So those are the things that we need to have at the back of our mind that we should be looking at when we look at this form of a schematic diagram in the cartoon, to see how the basin is moving from the northern part to the southern part, and see what is feasible and what is possible and what kind of data we should be looking for, and what kind of technology we need to be looking for or need to develop in order for us to maximize the value of assets. So again, when we looked at how that basin developed over time, you see, from Paleocene to Eocene era, in those ancient days, the basin was more like a concave in nature. So you see, these are mapped surfaces. If you can see the shoreline, in those areas, this is, if you map them, this is how it's going to look like. So as progressively go younger, I mean for Eocene to Oligocene, uh, it becomes a little bit flatter. And as you are moving into lower to middle Miocene, it start taking the current shape that we have today now, which is more like convex shoreline shape that you have. By the time you get the upper Miocene to Pliocene, you have that convex shape. So what that means, what happens is that from the Paleocene to sometimes in the early Oligocene, so what you have dominating is more like fluvial processes, where you have the fluvial sediment, fluvial input incoming into the system. And as you move further and then shallower in age, so you have, I think the sand deposition actually, even though you still have the sporadic, kind of like in a pulsating manner, you have them in a Eocene, but it start actually depositing in the Oligocene properly. And as you go in terms of continuity, in terms of widespread sand, it continues all the way to the upper Miocene. And that also happens with the source rock itself in terms of the source rock input materials. So as you move shallower, as you move younger, as you're coming younger in age, so you're having more of a marine influence in terms of encouraging marine influence, marine shade dominating your source rocks, and in between around the Miocene, I would say from middle Miocene to Oligocene, maybe middle Oligocene, you have kind of like a 50-50 mixture between the terrestrial dominance in terms of carotene type in the system. So that's when you move more the basin world, which is younger in age. You're going to have more of a marine influence in terms of your source rock properties. And then before then, and in the hinterland, onshore, shallow, whatever, you have more of a terrestrial influence in terms of your source rock. So that's the distribution of the source rock within the basin. Of course, there are some local variation to this, but the overall, this is just the pattern of how you have your source rock distributed, and what is contributed to the formation of the source rock itself. So now let's move on to the concept itself, and then we talked about how the data progress itself, and also look at some of the concept in terms of structural style, the existing one, and also we will touch on the new concept that we're looking at. So this is just a schematic to demonstrate the growth of the system itself. You know, as we can see, what you have here, that you have we try attempt to plot the fault, kind of like the quantity of fault, the intensity of the fault with age. And so these second order fall in sea levels in this red, where you have major drop in the sea level. So what you find out that once you have this major fall drop in sea level, and you have the basin move for basinward, the system Basin 1, as you see from this arrow. And then from there, it aggregates, it grows, it adjusts everything pile on top of each other. Then until you have the next system, then the thing move Basin 1. So that's how it continues to progress from one interval to the next interval, and how those what's called depot beds were formed. So generally, the concept, we all familiar with the concept of escalator, escalator regression, developed by erudite senior colleague and fellow, that's a biomarshal and nurse in those days. And then those ones were actually developed based on the more kind of like mechanical approach. Just look at the pattern and generate the staircase approach in terms of observing the changes in rate of deposition and the subsidence of the data itself. So, but again, like I said, with the introduction of the sequence stratigraphy principles, and looking at the third circle and also second circle, how it is controlled by global sea level cyclicity and a gravity sliding model, we can actually quantify how the system evolves and also progress over time. And because of this, you actually look at the thickness within the interval, because you can date them, and you're able to date them. You have an idea and the confidence in your dating, so you can actually know how those systems progress over time. I think from Oligocene, from maybe Paleocene to Oligocene, the range about 2 kilometers per hour. By the time you're coming to Basin, you're talking about 15 kilometers per million years, So significant growth and also significant sediment pileup in the system. So you can have that growth in the system in terms of progression. If it is moving in a million years, like 15 kilometers growth rate. And so again, the general control of this is just that second order sea level of 4, which gave rise to those significant drops, like a global event drop in the sea level, and gave rise to more accommodation space in the offshore environment, more like a deep water, and having channel on the canyon, those canyon funnel the sediment into the deep water environment itself. And so in terms of and play types, and also the concept, so some of these vary from one depot bed, cow depot bed to depot bed, but they're similar. You can see replica of that, and you can see various play that have been tested, and also some that are yet to be tested, and especially the shallow share plays. So most of those things are going to be tested. We'll drill through them. You see from here, when you see typically call those, I would say, rollover, multiplier, or fault dependent, the two-way fault dependent or through-way fault dependent occlusion. And where you move here, what you see, those collapse crest structure as a result of the rollover because of the growth force system, the bending of the growth force create those tension, and you have the structural relief faulting the crest of the structure just to relieve, to accommodate the folding and the bend. And so those are good play that will be tested and tried within the data itself. And we have some of the other play that are yet to be fully tested. These are what they counter-regional the push out opportunities that I believe that are not being fully tested. in most places. And when you go to the deeper side, which is more of a secondary play, because the shallow one typically the primary play. So you have some of the opportunities, like I said, if you recall what I mentioned earlier on when I was showing us those cartoons in terms of how the system progressed and stuff like that, and you see in those within those mega structure, for example, uh, these are most likely going to be the fan, that's basin fan, the paleo basin floor fan, the older basin floor fan, the component or part that will complement some of those events that we've seen in the Oligocene, in the older age, or the early Miocene that are very steep in the as a central incrustator offshore depot bed area. And so it's a matter of if we know, for example, if you use the current physiography of the ocean floor and look at the profile, and today you say where you if you know where your shelf margin is, for your shelf margin to base or slope, I think it'll be about 80 to 120 kilometers or thereabout. So then if we can map where the shelf margin is in the Oligocene, and then can we extrapolate where the potential basin floor fan is going to most likely be for those areas? Then we can start going after them, start looking at them. Those are the concept for most of these opportunities that happen at the deeper level, and that we see as a secondary opportunity within the low stand system itself. Again, when I was discussing the tectonic framework in terms of the legacy interpretation, and the most current interpretation, where you have those back to back interval. And so, yeah, there could be opportunity in this back to back interval, but again, like I said, they're yet to be tested. But those are the things that, as we continue to work this basic, that we will put at the back of our mind as we continue to formulate and create those ideas and say what we can use to de-risk and reduce the uncertainty of this, and possibly try to test out some of this. And if we're successful, we open up a new play that people can start pursuing. So there are different opportunities in the Niger Delta. So today, for future or further explorations that are yet to be tested or not fully explored. And so I think our work is cut out for us as we work this basin. So in a nutshell, just to summarize this, if you take a profile, like I said, all the way from the onshore to the deep water environment, and so this is what you get. You have those progression coming from the extension area. Your extension is actually ending where you have kind of like your chef margin. And so then you go into the translation environment, and from translation, the final zone is a contraction where you have your thrust system happening. Your fourth bed happens around the translation area. But this is just a one, it's not a complete, it gives you an overview of a general, a pictorial view of the profile. But more detail, what you have is after the extension, you have what we call inner thrust system, inner fold thrust or inner thrust system. Then you have the fold bed itself, where you have more a kind of like detachment folding, and area with less restoration, area of quiet zone, not absolute quiet, but compared to others. Then you see the outer fold and thrust bed before you get to the abyssal plane. So that is a complete profile. But again, like I said, this is just a schematic, I mean, a general profile to give us what is happening. And as you see this red fault, what happens that the soil out get to the detachment surface, or what we call decolement, which is typically is around maybe on top of Akata, which is about 50.2 million years or thereabout, because of the overpressure nature and its mobility, highly mobile, whatever. This thing glides. There's a detachment surface around that, and it goes all the way. It's very deep in the extension area slash all the transition zone. But as you go into the proper basin floor, it becomes shallow, and it could, and then you have a multiple detachment that are giving rise to some of those imbricate fault thrust systems. Again, so looking at in the what's it called, in two-dimensional view, the opportunities that we say, the opportunity that we label number one here, these are our bread and butter conventional chef data that we really worked. But the opportunity for 2 and 3, which is more like deep buried data or chef margin deposit, these are opportunities that are yet to be fully explored. And of course, as you move into the slope, you have upper slope complex. I know those could be challenging because you have to be very careful in terms of the uncertainty and high. You don't know what is, depending on what the sea level is doing and the rise and fall of the sea level, and it could be more field. When you have a channel or inside valley, there it could be more field. But again, based on what the system is doing at that time, some of the sand could be trapped inside. So we do have other opportunity with those cancer-regional fault. We have what we call retrograde shelf margin, and also up the pinch out that I mentioned earlier on against the cancer-regional fault system. But we need to understand them properly in terms of the plumbing, and also how you're going to get the system to be charged. Maybe that's going to be a problem. And again, maybe the fetch area could be but again, first of all, we need to develop the concept. Then we continue to work them and eliminate the one based on the risk level and the uncertainty. And then the last one is back-to-back play type. So what has happened within the data itself? I mean the Niger data itself. So you will see how technology and also ideas translate into helping us to grow our reserves and also the production within the basin. And so just to summarize this, if you follow the trend of events in the Niger Delta prior to around 1980 or thereabout, so what obtained in the Delta was 2D seismic, and where you have those top set, just data, conventional data being played. Again, you do that, you cream out. Another step change happened when you start having the 3D. 3D in Niger Delta was around 1988. So people can do a whole lot with the 3D, amplitude extractions, you name it, and also having a higher penetrations in terms of depth of penetrations. And again, the mobile shade concept, what have you, started evolving. Thereafter, the next uplift we saw was when we have the before you get to the 2000, that's around 2000, where you start having Obidai play. That's the I would say mid 90s to the 2000s, so between 1988 to 2000. That's when we start opening up the deep water play and also people start evolving, incorporating the sequence stratigraphy and opening up the deep water with long offset seismic data. So turbidite play, which is primarily just deep water play, started opening up, and then with the I think Bonga discovery and whenever Bonga, Bosi, Era Bosi, Agbami, and all those things started coming up. And so after that, then people need to see and rejuvenate the basin itself and start extending the frontier areas. So start having regional studies, going back again to say, okay, what is our understanding? Has our understanding changed? Or what is happening now based on the new data set we have? How does the basin evolve? Or what can we make about the basin? Then people start developing those deep play a concept that I showed us. Started evolving, of course, not fully developed. Then with better modeling of the overpressure, things that could not be drilled before, we have better fidelity of data and accuracy in terms of overpressure modeling, having good handling on that. And so, again, we right now from 2010 to date, in talking of portfolio rejuvenation that we're talking about, and of course the advancement in computing technology. Right now, you and I know that pre-start debt migration is now kind of like a normal thing. Unlike those days, it used to be a big deal for you because the computing capacity is just not there and it's very expensive. But right now, it's like a normal, a routine part of your processing. Start having rock physics, raw physics and inversions and what have you. Now, I think the next one will be maybe application of the AI technology in trying to tease out new opportunity from the big data we have in the industry and see how best we can use that to create newer opportunities within the basin itself. So, at every evolution of technology or new ideas, you will see uplift in the volume of the reserve and also the production that we have in the basin itself. And I think this is common to every other basin, not only the Niger Delta alone. But again, since we can tie some of this to where you have those uptick in the creaming curve, then the question is, where is the next one going to come? So what is going to lead to the next uptick in creaming curve in the Niger Delta? But you will agree with me that I believe that we creamed at this point in time. We need something to revolutionize or change that trajectory to the upward trajectory. Okay. This is just to show you. I think this is from Shell. It's courtesy of Shell. Shell is a proprietary algorithm they have. So the instant is apply this algorithm to see what you can do, what technology is doing. You see this seismic session is a PSDM seismic or the regular one. But when they apply their processing algorithm into this, you can see better definition of the events, things that are not clear, the continuity of the event. You see here, and the things. So we can now develop this kind of opportunity and see how we can test them and see opportunity that you have in there. So all this in the past would have been lost because the data, you will not have the data, you will not be able to process it. But now with the improved algorithm, like I said, computing power, and you can do a whole lot of things, ray tracing, full wave inversions, and what have you, that will improve your image and also be able to define your trap properly and make something out of it. So this is the role, one of the roles that the technology is playing we didn't make mention of the pressure modeling. That's
It's
pore pressure
5
modeling.
5 more
Yes.
minutes.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So the pore pressure modeling, as you go, a better definition of that. So, and other technology is rock physics, like I didn't mention, being able to differentiate. Your sign and sharing properties, and also fluid effects. So all these are the new technology that are applying that will help you reduce your uncertainty in the system. So I'm getting there now. It's what you see in terms of the depositional fairway of the basin itself. What you see that most of the major feed within the delta itself, it kind of like within the Asia part of this, some of these depositional fairway. In the western side, you have major or the Oklahoma Canyon, this Oligocene age, and you have of River Niger at the central delta, the Afan Canyon toward the east, and the Kwaibo Canyon toward the east. So some of these major feed or significant feeds seems to tie pretty well to some of these feeder systems that you have in the basin. And again, of course, you're saying this. Let me talk to you about the petroleum system, part of the thermal maturity of the source rock itself. And so this is a view graph showing you the thermal maturity, why we have a kind of a mixture of different fluid within the basin itself. And so at the shallow, where you have um, biodegradation, because once the depth barrier is beyond 80 degrees Celsius, you won't have that impact of the biodegradation, of course. But the deeper, the more mature you have for your source rock, and also the impact on your fluid properties in terms of the API gravity. So this is one of the critical things, and surprisingly, in the data, especially in the conventional data side, the column height are not that great. The column height are just within the like 150 to 300 feet. But again, this is just on the average. That does not mean you cannot have more than column height that is greater than this. And so, but in deep water, once you move, you can have a column height that's like 1,000 feet or greater than 1,000 feet. But notwithstanding, is the stacking pattern of the reservoirs that makes the Niger Delta to be great, to be there in terms of volume of the hydrocarbon discovered within the Niger Delta itself. So the pressure itself is not necessarily affecting the column height. It should ordinarily aid you to have a higher column height, but it's not a determinant whether you're going to have a column height or not. Is the trapping patterns, the sealing nature of the fault, and also the available hydrocarbon to char the system. So I've talked about this in terms of the technology, but you can group the phases of the exploration in the Niger Delta into these three phases. So the phase one, which we discussed extensively, the conventional data play. Then the phase two, the advent of 3D, where you start having amplitude supported play, the AVO, AVA, or what have you, and the phase three, and the deep water play. So the question is, what is going to be phase four? Where is phase four going to come from? So that is a challenge that we all have to talk about. So if you take a look at the wells drilled in Niger Delta today, um, uh, on the average, most of our well TD around, I would say 12,000 or thereabout. So we still have a whole huge rock volume between 14,000 and 18,000 to explore. Those are the areas where you have the circle. And some cases will be from 12,000 to 16,000 or 18,000. So there's a huge of opportunity to be explored within the Niger Delta. We barely touch the surface, and we have opportunity out there. So I will go through quickly. These are the opportunities and the new play type that we've identified that possibly will be for future explorations, and I've talked about them extensively earlier on, so I won't repeat them again, but you have this. Then the phase 4 that I spoke about, what is going to be, we have some enablers. I mean, we need a new improved data imaging. The PIA that recently passed, we believe that that should help. And also, we need to find a way to make use of AI to help us, of course, leverage on the basic geology and improve security in the Niger Delta itself to enable and sensitize the exploration activities. So these are just an examples of that are planned. I took one example from the east all the way to the west, where we have the giant field, the field that has a 500 million barrels of oil equivalent or more, where we discover. So the Kwaibo, in the eastern part, primarily the eastern part, these are kind of like a deep water deposit that they have there, the channel system, and they play. You can see the stacking pattern of the hydrocarbon that they explore. These are significant field discovery. So same thing goes for the also area, and so in the eastern part. And the other one is Neme Creek. As you come to the closer to the central part of the delta itself, this is where you have back-to-back play accumulation of hydrocarbon within the delta, the fault itself. So if you see any fault pattern in the Niger delta when you're presenting your play, and someone say, no, you have this one, it's not going to happen. No, yeah, a great example of where you see that. And this is the last example, is one example from the deep water. This is one of the first field in the deep water, the Bonga field, which was discovered in 1995. The area is made of billions barrels accumulations. So it commenced production, that's around 2005. As of today, that's 2023, they produce 1 billion barrels already, and they're still producing. So lastly, and in conclusion, so what we try to do here is to show us that the historical perspective of the basin evolution itself within the delta, and to identify where we still have the opportunities, some of the new concepts that we need to look out for, and how we can pursue those concepts, and based on our understanding of the basin evolution itself. And so we know that the delta itself is a very rich basin, and again, it's just for us to go out there and look for the opportunities, and to increase the productivity of the delta itself. So in the deep water environment, we've touched some areas, but especially the outer fold and thrust bed is not fully explored yet. We still have some of the opportunities, some of even the basin floor fan, which are stratigraphic plays, are yet to be fully tested in the basin. So we need more incentives. I mean, the government has to provide incentives to make kind of like creative and a cost-effective opportunity to develop some of the discovered DRO, discovery resource opportunity that are presently maybe not economic, and how they can bring that to fruition as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ekun. Wow, I think our webinar participants can see that it was no accident, or that you were the one picked to discuss this topic. Thank you so much for the enriching discussion and presentation. So before we go on to Q&A, we will have the chairman summary, and I'm just going to share my screen.
I just want to re-echo what Jumoke has said. Thank you very much, Mr. Oluseye. You've given us a lot to think about. I think for me, the question you asked very openly, which is what is going to be phase 4, that will get me thinking for days and months and years, because in your opening slides, when you showed about that the discovered resources in Nigeria is about 40 billion, my mind quickly raced to the new bride on the block, which is Guyana. With all of the good stuff that is happening there, it's just about 10 or 11 billion that have been found. And if Bonga alone can produce 1 billion, and by the time you have the other deep water fields, maybe you produce about 5 or 6 billion there, it just shows you the prospectivity that still remains in the Niger Delta. And I think your lecture has shown that there's still much to be done. Some of the things you spoke about new understanding, based on the amount of new data, both from seismic, from wells that we have in reconstructing the tectonic evolution, like, this particular one that you're showing. Many of us started the industry with the mindset of a mud core high, but at least from what you've shown, it's imbricate core high, and that has a lot of implications, like you said, on how we look at prospectivities in this area. I like the fact that when you ask the question about what the enablers of phase 4 would be, you mentioned technology, you mentioned, of course, integrating this in understanding. I think one other point perhaps that we can include there is sharing of knowledge. And I mean, not just presentations like you have done, but sharing of knowledge across the industries. And I'm happy that both the president and president-elect is here. Maybe you should comment as well, Mr. Oluseye. We need companies to collaborate more and share knowledge. The Niger Delta has significant amount of data, and I think, and a lot of professionals as well. So sharing knowledge amongst ourselves, and doing joint study, like what you've shown here, I think is one of the key areas that we need for a phase 4. Let me stop here so that at least Jumoke can coordinate the question and answer. I'm sure many people will have a lot of questions and answers. Thank you again, Mr. Oluseye.
Thank you, Mr. Olumurewa. For those of you that didn't join us when we introduced Mr. Olumurewa, I will do a quick introduction again. Our chairman of today is a seasoned oil and gas professional with over 2 decades in the industry. And most of that's been with ExxonMobil for 24 years. He held multiple technical and managerial positions while in ExxonMobil. However, he's currently the Group General Manager for Strategy and Planning at AMNI International Petroleum and Development Company here in Houston, Texas. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for that great summary. So we'll go to Q&A, and like I said before, please drop your questions in the, okay, let me check it now. In the Q&A tab. And I see we've been doing that. Thank you very much. Let me go back to, okay, I think I need to stop sharing. Okay, please can you spotlight Mr. Ekun for us? Okay, thank you. So Mr. Tunde Akindipe is asking that, are the deep water turbidite discoveries more in the Oligocene and older rocks, or more Miocene and younger rocks? thinking about the shoreline shape changes over time, shape from concave to convex.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, before I answer that question, I say thanks to Mr. Chairman. I could not agree uh, less with you. So, with what you say in terms of sharing, I'll be advocating that, and I mean sharing data and also sharing knowledge, and in our own sphere of influence, we'll be doing that greatly. That's the only way we can contribute to the body of knowledge and also grow our economy and the industry. Yeah, to answer the question you mentioned, yeah, if you followed what I discussed, the in the deep water they are younger, and so the discovery are more of the Miocene in the deep water, and when you come to the onshore area, that's where you have more of a older rocks, because you see the Miocene and what have you is even coming thinner because of the progressing nature of the system. Is when you come to the central, or I mean the coastal central offshore depot bed, that you have that expansion, great expansion of the system. So in the deep water environment, yes, it's more of the Miocene discovery. It does not mean that you don't have in Oligocene. I think where we have a few pay in Oligocene, I can tell you categorically, for example, in Insiko. I don't know if you know about Insiko feed. They discovered there we have some pay zone in the Oligocene, and of course some in Miocene, and and a few other places. But primarily, if you look at the Bonga, look at the Agbami, look at the Usan, and what have you, they are more of in Miocene interval.
Thank you, Mr. Shoyekun. So the next question is from Akendo. Thanks for your enlightening talk. Please help highlight further some new discovered or undiscovered clay concepts in the Niger Delta that will benefit from new technologies to discover on seismic data.
Okay.
I think the last question we have is tied to that in a way. It's also about how 4D will help, and how has it been valuable in the future, in the past, and how in the future it will be helpful. So I think it speaks to technology as well.
Okay. So let me take the 4D first, and typically, the 4D is just a repeated 3D survey. And so 4D is more of a time lapse. It's more of infield, more applicable in the infield. Really, you want to be able to harness, maximize the value of your asset to drill your infield well placement, to see how your reservoir has been swept, and see where you have bypass, whatever. So, of course, if it's designed to get maybe better resolutions and a deeper zone at some other areas, then of course you can apply, because it's just another 3D. And in 4D is more of a repeatability. How well can you repeat the same survey over and over? So in design, they typically optimize for the productive zone in interval. So that's just the 4D and technology part of it. But however, you do have, in terms of seismic acquisition itself, now there's something called triple shots, okay, where you have triple source instead of a dual source or something like that. What that does is also enables you to acquire higher density data, and also be able to penetrate deeper. But one challenge about it uh, is the blending of the signals. But again, because of computing technology and whatever, the processing companies are able to define algorithm that they can actually extract those signals and decouple those signals, and that problem is less of a problem in nowadays. So for me, one of that technology that is so much but it's not yet to whatever that could help in future exploration activities, or something you call the control source electromagnetic survey. Okay, so by the time we start applying that technology and start deploying it, it will also help reduce some of the uncertainty with some of those opportunities that we identify.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ekun. I mean, like you rightly said, by the time we will start scraping the bottom of the barrel, the 4D will be very, very valuable. And like you have also said. So if there is anyone who wants to ask a question live, please raise your hand. These are all the questions we have right now, but we can probably pick one more.
Hey, Jumoke, if I can ask Mr. Oluseye just a question. What can we learn? What can we learn from the conjugate basins in South America, where their own exploration has not stopped? And I've heard that there have been some discovery in the Oligocene in that part of the world. So I don't know if you have a perspective on that for Niger Delta.
Okay. Well, I mean, thank you very much. And again, very, very great questions. And thanks for all the questions. I totally agree with you, because geology itself is very interesting. It's based on, you start with analog, where you have analog. I mean, some of your problem or uncertainty is kind of like reduced. You have something to start with. So it's a matter of we study that. What it means for us is continuous investment in the basin. And we need to start and deliberate and intentional policy to incentivize exploration. Okay, for people to start actually exploring for some of these opportunities. Okay, for example, like I explained in their presentations, we just scratched, like the Jumoke said. I mean the surface. When I mean surface, we're still the Miocene, but we still have huge opportunity beneath those Miocene intervals. And we also had some discovery in the Oligocene already, but it just is not fully explored. Again, it's a matter of looking at getting maybe long offset data set with higher record. If you check on the average, most of our seismic today, good data stop around 3.5 a second. On the average, maybe at best 4 seconds, which is not deep enough. And so we don't have some of the GST line, 2D line that we can go as far as 9 seconds. But we have to make that deliberate effort to acquire longer offset, longer records, 3D seismic data. Not only 3D seismic data, we can also complement it, like I mentioned, the control source electromagnetic survey to enable us to de-risk some of those opportunities. So it's going to happen layer by layer. Right now, the next phase will be, okay, what do we have? Are we going to have between the interval of, let's say, 12,000 to 16,000 interval? There's a gross rock volume there. And in some cases, so that interval still may be within the Miocene, maybe just the early Miocene or / just late Oligocene. And in some other area, depending on where you are in the basin, you could be in proper Oligocene interval. So, right question. That is what I think. What we should be doing is, if we incentivize exploration, invest more in exploration, people start drilling, and people start exploring for these, looking out for these opportunities. And with what we are doing here today, now, rubbing mind, discussing, bringing ideas on whatever you see, and somebody go and try the concept, develop those concepts, critique it, and whatever, and now find the opportunity, the courage to go and test it. So that would be my suggestion and my advice.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Ekun. Talking of courage, there's been talk about underlying Cretaceous opportunity around the Niger Delta, whether up deep or at the flanks. And do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes, thank you very much. So, for example, when you're talking of Cretaceous, like Cretaceous play, you will be thinking of more like the Dahomey embayment, the western flank of the basin, or maybe in the around the Anambra on the side. But again, in the Niger, for example, in the Niger Delta proper, we do not. I stand to be corrected. We do not have data, not good enough data that will enable you to go after the Cretaceous, because we've not even exhausted during the Oligocene interval that I just mentioned before you talked about that. So if you check your seismic, it's where you have good data. By the time you are getting to 50.2 million years, which is top of in top of Akata, I think it's two part of the Cretaceous, which is, I mean, Cretaceous started about, was it 65 million years or thereabout, or stop at 65 million years. You will find out that you are in total darkness. You don't have much of what is happening in those intervals because of high pressure that they contain. But as you move toward the flank in the western area, we have Midawami. You remember the Yaje field? Those are Cretaceous play, and we need to explore those one more because there is no activities going on there, and it's not be after the RJ discovery and put on production. I don't even know what is happening to that field now. And so nothing happening there. So there are opportunities there. Or if you come to the hinterland, maybe the bitumen axis, around the Ogun, Lagos, Osho, whatever, then you can play your Cretaceous play and there. But in Niger Delta, based on the data we have today, no.
Thank you, Mr. Ekun. Maybe phase 4 includes a paradigm shift where technology will play a key role. Those deep, longer cable length or some other technology that will help us to image as deep as we can. And of course, there's the basin modeling part of it. Potentially, there are talks of whether these opportunities are even far gone in terms of maturity at the deepest part of the Delta. Thank you very much, Mr. Ekun. I see a hand raised. We will take just one, Mr. Oluseye Babalola, because of our time. Please unmute and talk.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Oluseye Babalola from Nigeria. I just need a clarification on the 4D seismic acquisition you said. My lecturer once told me that repetition of either 2D or 3D survey can be described as 4D. But during the course of your presentation, you exclusively said is a repetition of 3D seismic acquisition. Sir, I need a clarification on this. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I mean, thank you very much. Again, like you said, generally when you say 4D, it just is a time lapse thing. Okay, if you want to apply it to 2D, yeah, whatever. But how repeatable? You remember the shortcomings of 2D. So in as much I'm not saying your lecturer is wrong, but I don't see anybody doing 4D on a 2D because the 2D itself is defective in a certain area. You can only use it for maybe a structural or whatever. You can't do time slices on 2D. You can't do what's called meaningful amplitude extraction on 2D. They are sparse. They are well aside. So the 3D itself is you want to be able to see your fluid movement. And that fluid movement, you will still see how well you swept your reservoir. So you need to be able to see in a three-dimensional space and not just in 2D. So that is where coming from. And then repeatability in 4D, what it means that which is the what 4D is all about generally. If it's not repeatable, then you have no basis to compare. What are you comparing with? Are you with me now? So you will not be able to compare, and that's why you need to see the acquisition of 4D is very, very critical in terms of taking the coordinates. If you are using the nodes, maybe the ocean bottom nodes or cable or whatever. In some cases, there are nodes that the battery life can stay longer. They will leave it. They will leave after acquiring that so that they come back and just shoot over them again. So is that repeatability that is the strength of your 4D. Otherwise, it will be useless because you know you have this 3D data. Let's say you extract your amplitude, you can see the pool of your hydrocarbon in 2 years' time. After you produce maybe like 300,000 or 300 million barrels from it, how much is left? Has it moved? Or if you are injecting water, you want to see how that thing has moved, so that when you are drilling your infill well, you don't want to go and punch a hole where you've already drained.
Thank you so much. In summary, for anyone who still have question on the 4D, the best application of your 4D is in a production asset. That's the whole concept of the time lapse. Thank you very much, Mr. Shayef. So now we are going to announcement, and but before then, we want to acknowledge our fellow and distinguished learned geoscientists on the call, our very experienced geoscientists, and NAPI fellows. I don't know if we still have them on the call. I cited Mr. Nosal Morodion earlier, Mr. Keke Kanu, Mr. Femi Eson, Dr. Mayo Wafe, Dr. Bimbo Duru Biton. Thank you very much for joining us. My apology if I miss anybody, but please indicate if you are here in the chat while we move on to announcements. Cynthia, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I will still stand on the existing protocol. Permits me to share the announcement slide. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, yeah.
It actually came up.
Okay, it came up. Okay. I think I'll just give it a minute because I tried sharing it.
So we can see it now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming to today's meeting. I'll just briefly run us through the announcements for today's meeting. We want to especially thank the North America chapter for sponsoring the last technical business meeting for the year. And we want to also thank Mr. Oluseye Ekun for taking us on this insightful presentation. So on other activities for NAPE, we have the Train the Trainer session program holding on October from 6 to 8 at the SPDC core facility. And we're joining all the university lecturers across Nigeria to participate. We also have the Africa Energy Week scheduled to hold from the 4th of November to the 8th of November. It's holding at CTICC, Cape Town. Please register and book your delegate pass. The annual registration for the annual international conference and exhibition is still ongoing. Registration fee from now till October 31st is still 90,000 naira for members, I mean financially up-to-date members. For non-members is 110,000, for lecturers 50,000, student members 30,000, and international members $250. We invite you to take advantage of the early bird registration. From the 1st of November, it should be on site, and the fees will be increased to 120,000 for members, 150 for non-members, 70,000 for lecturers, and 50,000 for student members. But the international registration will still remain the same as $250. Call for abstract has ended already. And we still have on the 26th of October, the golf tournament registration is closed. Please remember to attend if you registered for the event. The pre-conference workshop is scheduled to hold on Wednesday, 30th of October at Ekun Hotel and Suites. Our sponsor is S Energies, and the theme is leveraging divestments and local content capacity to enhance Nigeria's oil and gas industry. We're talking about the challenges and the opportunities. On other events that will be going on at the conference, we also have the President's Night holding on the 9th of November, Saturday by 6 p.m. Strictly by invitation. We also have registration for the pre-conference short courses, which should be both physical and online. Registration for students is 50,000, happy members 90,000 to 120,000, for non-members 110,000 to 150,000. Please contact the Secretariat for more information. Some of the topics that we'll be having, the following: reservoir production engineering for geoscientists, seismic AVO and its pitfalls, a focus on Niger Delta, fundamentals of well drilling and completion for geoscientists, intentional leadership development, and oil and gas financial modeling and hydrocarbon accounting. And we also have another one on economics of oil and gas. Please register as soon as possible. We also have another events. The Icebreaker event is scheduled to hold on Sunday, 10th November, at Ekun Hotel and Suites. Opening ceremony on Monday, 11th November by 9 a.m. The Basin evaluation competition by 8 a.m. on same Monday, 11th November. The AGM would also hold on the same day at Ekun Hotel and Suites by 5:30 p.m. We have the African Night on Tuesday by 6 p.m. Management session on Tuesday by 9 a.m. and the executive session on Wednesday, 13th November by 9 a.m. The awards nights that would crown the end of the conference would take place on Thursday, the 14th November by 6 p.m. Please remember to pay your dues. Student membership still remains 2,000, as active members 12,000, associate members the same, and corporate membership is 50,000 naira. You can pay to this account or contact Tunde or anyone at the Secretariat for more information. There's also an opportunity to sponsor monthly technical business meetings, such as this one. Feel free to contact the President-elect, Mr. John Bosco Uche FNAPI, or Mr. Lawrence. The election is still ongoing, and we have the following candidates for the various positions. For President-elect, we have Mrs. Olajumoke Ajayi, MD for Ingenual Energies. General Secretary, we have Dr. Chris Jackson, Senior Geoscientist with ND Western for General Secretary. For Financial Secretary, we have Mrs. Abidemi, the Subsurface Lead or an Integrator with SPDC. For Publicity Secretary, we have Mrs. Somime, QI Geophysicist with SPDC as well. For Treasurer, we have Mr. Emeka, Account Manager with SLB, and Dr. Kehinde, Exploration Geoscientist with SPDC. For Editor-in-Chief, we have Dr. Adekunle, Associate Professor of University of Port Harcourt. And today's presenter, Mr. Oluseye Ekun, Manager, Field Development and Production Engineering with Chevron Niger Limited for Editor-in-Chief. For candidates for Assistant General Secretary, we have Mr. Lucky Iwu, MD, Basement Nigeria Limited. We have Mrs. Onome, Energy Tech Business Development Lead with Cyber for Crescent Limited, and Dr. Afolabi, Senior Lecturer with Adekunle Adjacent University. For Assistant Editor-in-Chief, we have Mr. Ogba, Ed Scientist and Geophysicist with Chevron Nigeria Limited, and Mr. Ibrahim, the Chief Geologist, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, for Assistant Editor-in-Chief. We want to thank our conference sponsors, ExxonMobil, ENI, First DNP, S Energy, and the Western New Cross, SPDC, Seplet Energy, Amni, Ardell, Chevron, NCDMB as well, Platform, NNPC, Bell Oil and Gas, the Future Concerns Group, First Hydrocarbon Nigeria, Ingensio Energies, PIGL, Lacostrine Energy, Petrodata, WEB, AA Holdings, Danvik Petroleum, Bulwark, EMR, Jove Energy, NNPC, LNG, and NCDMB. We also have SLB, Total Energy, PTDF, Halliburton, Polaris, and the others. Voting ends on October 15. We encourage all to vote. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. We'll move on to closing remarks from our North America Technical Coordinator, Demola Lanisa. Are you?
Okay. Yes, I'm here. Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank our speaker, Mr. Oluseye Ekun, for this very insightful and very, very interesting topic today. I think the key takeaway for me was when you talked about the Phase 4 enablers and the fact that we still have a lot of potential in the Niger Delta. There is still so much oil and gas to be found. So there's a lot of work still to do. Thank you very much for opening our eyes and reminding us of this world-class petroleum basin. I want to thank Mr. Gbenga Olumurewa for chairing this event ably. Thank you very much for being here and also the insights you brought into the topic and the excellent summary you made. I want to thank our President, Dr. Abiodun Kunjobi. I know it's past midnight where you are now. I want to thank you very much for being with us from the beginning, even up to the end of this meeting. And all members of the EXCO present, and also all members of the North America chapter EXCO here, especially Madam Jumoke, who has ably moderated this event excellently. I believe we all had an excellent time, and key takeaways we could get from this meeting. This will be the last technical meeting for the year. All efforts now will be towards the conference. It's usually a fantastic time to network and also to listen to high quality papers, in Lagos. So if you are planning to go, I encourage you to, quickly put your travel plans together. It's usually an exciting time. Thank you to everyone who has participated to this webinar and this technical meeting. Those who dialed in from Lagos, London, and other parts of the world, and of course the people here in Houston and other parts of North America. Thank you very much. You can rest assured that next year we would have excellent, high quality presentations, on topics that will excite you, that you can learn a lot from. So once again, thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Demola Lanisa, NAPE North America Coordinator. And with that, we've come to the end of our webinar today. I want to re-echo everybody's sentiment about today's topic. It's timely, it's good, and the speaker was just excellent. Thank you, Mr. Ekun. We really appreciate you. And I want to appreciate everybody on the call for sticking with us to the very end. And stay tuned, even though this is the last technical talk for the month and for the year. I think our coordinator still has some things that he has lined up for us, along with the exco for the remaining parts of the year. So stay tuned. Our WhatsApp chat, let's keep an eye on it. And I say good night to everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much, Jumoke, for facilitating. Thanks, Demola.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.